Good evening, class. My name is Jalon McCullough, and the organization that I chose was Fly Trampoline Park. Connecting with Halby and Reese, Halverson talks about in Chapter 1 having a hungry stomach. That kind of means having the passion and love really to sell. I relate this to basketball. If you really love the game, you're going to do it as much as possible. In selling, if you have a hungry stomach, you kind of have that passion and that want to sell. And if you do that, you're going to have more success. So how that related to my project was when I was preparing for my project, I had my cold call down. I was practicing. I was really starting to get excited. I was starting to get excited for the first cold call. And during that process, I kind of found that hunger and that motivation. I was like, I can't wait until I call them first. Anyways, I called them. They didn't answer. But that's okay. And I'll get to the rest of the story later on. Next is developing an intuitive nose. It's kind of just being tough. I relate this again to basketball as having that mental toughness. I know that a lot of the times we're going to try to sell something and it might not go well. But having that toughness, to take that no and go through the hard times can be really crucial. I relate this to my project when it was at a point in the year where I was kind of confused on what we were doing. Kind of was having problems, really making my cold call, saying, how am I even going to do this? So at that time, I went into Mr. Lupinick's office and I was asking some questions about my packet, because at that time, again, I was really confused. So at that time, I think I was developing toughness, kind of is what I call it. I wasn't going to give up. I wasn't going to let my lack of understanding of what I was trying to do, or my lack of understanding for the cold call, get to me. So I went into Mr. Lupinick's office and he helped me with a couple fix-ups and had a couple changes for my thing. So the next part is listening. Kind of throughout the whole chapter, or throughout the whole book, Halverson talks about listening. Funny story, it all ended up working, but when I made my cold call, she didn't answer the first time, so I made a voicemail. And then she called me back the next day, and everything was going good. Presented my cold call correctly, but at the end, I did not do a great job listening because she told me her email, and at the time, the phone was kind of breaking up a little bit. All around, I could have just asked for the email again for her to repeat it, but anyways, I kind of just winged it. I wrote down what I thought she said, and in that instance, I did not do a good job listening. I think listening to prospects or listening to who you're selling is almost just as important as talking. When I do go into my when I do go talk to Bonnie, who's the owner of the Fly Trampoline Park, I'm going to try to do a good job listening, or a better job listening. And with that, I could say asking questions. Halverson also talked about how to ask the right questions. And, at the end of interviews, people may ask, do you have any further questions? And if the person just says no, that's usually not what you want to say. You want to have great questions prepared. The next thing that Halverson talks about in the book, when are the better times to make a cold call? So I learned from Halverson that it can kind of adjust. I learned from Mr. Profit that on Fridays, early mornings could be the best day rather than Sundays and Mondays, just because that's how people are. That's how a lot of people are. But for Mr. Halverson, he talks about just really adjusting to your prospect, adjusting to who you're selling. Mr. Lupinick talks in class about how how you want to. Mr. Lupin also talks about how you want to adjust to your call. So I related that to when I was talking to Bonnie on the phone and when I was emailing her. I noticed that she's a fast-paced type of worker. She emails me back quick. The first day I called her on a Monday at 3 o'clock. She didn't answer. She called me the next day on a Tuesday at 4 o'clock. So I kind of knew that is me kind of adjusting to the time difference, knowing that she can sometimes be available at 4, but I also realized that she's a fast-paced worker. She called me back that next day. So yeah. The next part is my improvements, my rights and my wrongs. What I did right. What do I need to improve on? I need to improve on my understanding. I feel like understanding comes with experience. The more you do something, the better you are at it. So the more I cold call, or the more understanding I learn about Fly Trampoline Park, which I do still need to continue learning about because I have a meeting with Bonnie on the 24th of April. And so I did email. I called Bonnie the first time on Monday. She didn't answer. Called her back on Tuesday. Or she called me back on Tuesday. I made my cold call. It went well. And then I emailed her asking her for dates or times, whatever time is good for her. And she said April 24th. So I'll be continuing my cold call process on April 24th. What I did right. I feel like I set up the meeting correctly. Mr. Lupinik helped me out in class, telling me, if I should email her back or if I should call her back, one of the two. It's pretty important whether when you first call somebody or whether you should email her back after. So I kind of set up that whole process correctly, I feel like, by emailing her, calling her, and timing the cold call, so setting up that cold call. What I did wrong. I did not practice as much as I should have for talking about the cold call. I could have practiced a little bit more on that hand. Excuse me. Another thing I need to do better on is just having a more understanding and information for the ice dogs. I feel like I should have known a little bit more facts when talking about them. But like I said, I still have until April 24th, so I'm still doing that. My current status right now, or how I help the ice dogs, I'm looking forward to helping them with Fly Trampoline Park. I feel like Fly Trampoline Park can be good for the ice dogs, and I think they can benefit each other very well. My current status is, like I told you guys earlier, is I made my cold call. She didn't answer. She called me back the next day, and I really wasn't prepared for it, so I had to really know what I was talking about at the time. Called her back. She called me back, and then I emailed her the times, and we will be meeting April 24th at 3 p.m. Hopefully that meeting goes well. I'll be going to that meeting well dressed and well prepared. Thank you guys very much.